No.
Revenge is a dish best served cold, or in one particular notable case where I myself was forced to exact it, unbelievably hot.
Revenge, like gazpacho soup, is best served cold, precise, and merciless.
Dave, who wrote his great script, what are you up to? What have you done, Dave? The format here, if you're new, I read this, never read it before. This is what we do here. It's got to, react to this. You know the score, let's go. In 2012, I lived in a shared house with a borderline elderly gentleman called Nick. Wait, did he have borderline personality disorder, or was he borderline old? Nick was a legend. Not only did we get on very well, we reached an unspoken agreement whereby the alcohol in the fridge was communal, and whenever it began to run low, we would both pitch in the same amount of money to replenish it. This system worked very well, that is, until Paul moved in. Paul was an asshole. Not only did he take out a number of credit cards in my name and saddle me with the debt. Holy shit, dude! What the fuck? I thought you were going to say he stole my beer. No, he committed mega fraud against you. Holy. He would also steal anything that was not nailed down. After returning from work at about 1 a.m. and discovering that, for about the 15th time, the food that I had made and left myself in the fridge had mysteriously vanished, I decided that something had to be done about this unscrupulous bastard. Because many of the regulars in my pub were fans of insanely spicy food, I'd acquired several bottles of sauce called Dragon's Blood. The sauce, the special edition of which registered 12 million on the Scoville scale, which is super high, included instructions warning you to only use 1 drop for every 8 pints of liquid. It was, in short, brutal. Next time I made myself a batch of curry for later consumption, I separated 1 portion, mixed in an entire bottle of the sauce, and left it in the fridge while freezing the rest. To my eternal sorrow, I was not there when Paul stole it, but Nick assured me that the resulting vomiting was spectacular enough that not only did he spend the next several hours in the bathroom, but the lady he had brought home with him that evening elected to depart. What? Also, what's going on in his world? Where are you living, Dave? So, presumably this guy's gone out, getting his party on, and he's picked up a girl, and he's taken her home, and then he's like, you know what time it is? Curry time, baby! What are you doing? Needless to say, it was the last time he stole my food from the fridge. When it became time for Paul to permanently leave the residence, he was so reluctant to go that I had to engage the services of a couple of Hell's Angels friends to persuade him. As revenge goes, I always considered this story to be fairly harsh. That wasn't until I started carrying out research for this script. Some people out there have seriously gone above and beyond when it comes to revenge, and in today's episode, I shall tell you about some of those people.
As God is my witness, you ungrateful I will have my revenge!
Dave, you just casually clipped it, tucked in there, that he took out credit cards in your name. That's a proper crime. Stealing your food is whatever. But, Dave, I feel like you missed the big thing. Today's video is brought to you by the legends over at Backblaze, the ultimate data backup solution. Backblaze makes backing up and accessing your data astonishingly easy. Unlimited cloud backup for Macs, PCs, businesses, all for just $99 a year. I have been using Backblaze for far longer. Backblaze first sponsored me several years ago. But even before then, I was using them for several years before that because it's ridiculously easy. No longer do you have to think about, I better back up my hard disk to this external hard disk and then keep it at my house and one at the office. None of that with Backblaze. You just don't even have to think about it. Right now, all of the videos that I've recorded this morning, they're being synced with Backblaze's servers. So even if I do have a hard disk crash, boom, I can just download them from Backblaze and it's as easy as that. Even if your internet's slow, they'll mail you out a disk with all your files on it. I've got pretty blazing fast internet, so even if I need to download a terabyte of stuff, I could probably just do it overnight. But if you have slow internet, there's that option for you. Look, March 31st is World Backup Day, and don't be an April Fool. Be proactive, start backing up your computers. And Backblaze have got you covered with a fully featured, no-risk free trial. Just try it out. Go download it, give it a shot, and you'll just realize that it's insanely easy. You just install it. It sits in your system tray and just constantly syncs your files. Plus, if you want extra security, check out their Enterprise Control add-on for advanced governance needs. Or maybe you're not just worried about a hard disk failure, but also ransomware. Well, fear not, because if you're backed up with Backblaze, you could just be like, I'll just format my computer and download my files from Backblaze, you idiot. I'm not paying you your Bitcoin that you want. No. They've backed up over 55 billion files for their customers. All you need to do is go to backblaze.com/blaze. Let them know Backblaze sent you. It's the best way to back up your files. You'll love it. I love it. Why not? Backblaze.com/blaze. And now back to today's video. The lynching of Akayadav. This first story is a fine example of exactly what can happen when people lose faith in the legal system. Aku Yadav, better known as Bharat Kalacharan, was a notorious gang leader, drug dealer, and sex offender based in Kasturba Nagar in New Delhi after committing his first in 1991. He and his associates, we've got to bleep that out, whoever's editing this video, because that will get me demonetized for sure. So you'll just have to guess what I said. Along with beatings, murders, and home invasions, according to some sources, he had personally 40 women, along with several minors. Dave, this is not the casual criminalist. This is Brainblaze. We're here for a good time. Not for this. He was, in short, the scum of the earth. He was indeed. Even though he had been arrested some 14 times throughout his life, he quickly discovered that many of the gentlemen of the law were susceptible to that most unfortunate of legal conditions, cash-induced amnesia.
Here you go, sir. Will this work for you? I can't seem to find my license, but...
You have a good day, sir.
Thank you, officer. I appreciate it very much. Have a good day.
Although locals often attempted to report the crimes of him and his gang, they were almost universally dismissed. According to an article in The Guardian, when a 22-year-old woman accused Kalacharan of her, the police accused her of having an affair with him and refused to take her complaint any further. I mean, I want to say, like, oh, fuck you, police. I mean, but that should be a standard. But it just, like, the bribery and shit is like, fuck this, man. Like, fuck that. On several other occasions, the police didn't even appear to attempt to cover up, telling one complainant, "You are a loose woman. That is why he you, bruh." If you find that coming out of your mouth, you've got to check yourself before you wreck yourself, because what the f*** are you up to? In 2004, the community had had enough. An angry mob smashed his house into literal pieces, and he fled for fear of his life. Finally, law enforcement actually bothered to take him into custody and is charged with several offences. Unfortunately for him, word got out that, like every other time he'd been charged with anything, he'd be granted bail, and the community that he and his gang had terrorised for more than a decade were not having any of that. Depending on which reports you believe, a mob of between 200 and 500 people gathered outside the court to protest his impending bail. Once inside the courtroom, Kalacharan singled out one of the women who had accused him of assault and called her a prostitute. In response, she removed her sandal and started beating him with it.
"I will send you to Jesus,"
saying, "We can't both live on this earth together, it's you or me." This appears to have been the straw that broke the camel's back. As the two police officers who were guarding the prisoner fled, Kalacharan was attacked from all sides. Oh my god, this is happening in a courtroom. Angry women pelted him with chili powder and rocks before stabbing him more than 60 times with vegetable knives and cutting off his penis. I mean, yeah! He would eventually bleed to death in the courtroom floor after about 15 minutes. If you, like me, believe this to be a fitting end for such an individual, you may be pleased to know that you're not alone. Several prominent lawyers issued statements saying that the women should be treated as victims rather than criminals, and a retired High Court Judge Justice Balverhain made the following declaration. In the circumstances they underwent, they were left with no alternative but to finish Aku. Finish him! The women repeatedly pleaded with police for their security, but the police failed to protect them. Now look, I'm no way condoning this behaviour. Doing so may prove to be legally problematic. Yeah, Dave, I'd never officially condone this behaviour, but I mean, like, we're all into this shit, aren't we?
You're goddamn right.
But I was delighted to discover that although several of the women involved were arrested, they were all eventually acquitted. If I were inclined to support what they did in any way, I'd probably also be inclined to say that the cutting off of his penis was an excellent touch. Yes, it was. I hope he was still alive when they did that.
Yup!
Julius Caesar. For the next entry, it's necessary to go back in time a little bit. It's more than a little bit, Dave. According to the inescapable barrage of shorts my wife subjects me to on a daily basis, the Roman Empire is in right now. And maybe it was when you wrote this script. Is that meme from about 6 months ago? How often do you think about the Roman Empire? A lot. Make a lot of videos about the Roman Empire. A little bit bored of the Roman Empire, to be honest. Said it before, I'll say it again.
Joke's on you, I'm into that shit.
With that in mind, let us take a look at one of its most famous figures, Julius Caesar. Before he became a revered politician and a master military tactician, Caesar was just another rich kid inflated to near bursting point with his own sense of self-importance.
Absolutely, she needs a job.
At the age of 25, whilst travelling across the Aegean Sea en route to the small island of Rhodes, he was captured and held to ransom by a group of pirates. For lesser men, myself included, this would have been utterly terrifying.
Wait! What about my dad?
Kid, who do you think's the reason I'm hauling ass out of here? Did you hear him? He sounded scarier than whatever the hell that is.
Not for Caesar, though. Not only did he not appear to fear for his life, it appears that he owned the situation. According to several retellings, not only did he force his captors to listen to his poetry and speeches, when they told him that they had sent a ransom demand of 20 talents of silver, a talent is apparently equivalent to 33 kilograms, he was incredibly offended.
How dare you!
Rich entitled prick that he was certain that the ransom should be more than double that and persuaded the pirates to ask for 50. Turns out, he was right, and after about 35 days as prisoner, he was released in exchange for 1,650 kilograms, or 3,640 pounds of silver. Although the future emperor appeared to get on pretty well with those who abducted him, he repeatedly told them that upon his release, he would see each and every one of them crucified for their crimes. Can you imagine? Hey, yo, Pirate Bob, come listen to some poetry. Oh, and by the way, when I eventually get released, I'm going to come back here and crucify you, Bob. You're Bob. You know who I am? Do you know who I am?
No.
Apparently, this was not said with a great deal of conviction, as nobody seemed to take it very seriously. This, it turns out, was a massive mistake. Almost as soon as he had his feet back on dry land, Caesar, presumably spending more of his family's silver, quickly put together a posse and went after the pirates. Given that the sea is fairly big, you might have thought that this would have been difficult, nay impossible. Sadly for the pirates, they disregarded Caesar's earlier threats to such a degree that they had simply returned to the islands where they had first captured him, and this made them rather easy to locate. Oh, you're so f***ed. You're so f***ed, and I love it. Once they were in his custody, he quickly handed them over to what passed for local law enforcement. Believe it or not, this local law enforcement doesn't appear to have been particularly interested in getting involved in a dispute between a group of what were essentially peasants and an entitled rich kid, and pretty soon word reached Caesar that they were simply going to be released. Caesar, hell-bent on his promised revenge, wasn't having any of that. He, with his paid assistants, marched directly to the place where the pirates were being held and insisted that they be surrendered to him immediately. No one seems to be entirely sure how he did this, but he must have been fairly persuasive because his demands were met.
You want to help me?
I don't want to fight you. I want to...
Hey, this is like the Jedi mind trick.
He just goes up there. Do you know who I am? Release the pirates! One day later, true to his word, Julius Caesar had each and every one of them crucified. Now, Julia, don't with Julius Caesar, do you? Although in an act of mercy, he ordered that all of their throats be cut in order to expedite the dying process. Although it's worth noting that some historians believe the story to be nothing more than pro-Caesar propaganda. The only reason we know it today is through the writings of Plutarch, a man who seems to have almost universally regarded Caesar as a colossal bellend, or at least he would have if that phrase were in common usage at the time. I choose to believe it because it's awesome. I think this really happened and I like it. The point being that he would have been unlikely to make up any sort of story that would make Caesar look cool. I mean, this makes Caesar look cool, but it also does make him look bloodthirsty and tyrannical. Like... it's like great. It makes him look crazy. Crazy awesome. Unnamed victim of extramarital affair. Imagine, if you will, that you've been married for 15 years. If that, in and of itself, is not bad enough, you have, after much cajoling and emotional blackmail, agreed to visit your ailing mother for the weekend. Ordinarily, your husband would accompany you on such a trip, but on this occasion, he tells you that he has to work for the weekend, and so, after employing the services of your regular babysitter, you set off for your trip. I'd definitely be like the husband here. I'd be like, oh no, you're off to see your mother? I actually quite like my mother-in-law. But, you know, I get the meme. And I'd be like, I have to work. Sadly, or not so sadly, your weekend is cut short due to an argument with your mother, and you return home early. As you're driving home, you think that perhaps the weekends might not be a total failure. After all, you've booked the babysitter, so you might finally get to spend some quality time alone with your husband. Yes, I'll be pretty satisfied with this. I'll be like, good. God forbid I have to spend time with my children.
Okay, bye.
Upon entering your home, you discover that all is quiet. The children are upstairs in bed. Peace reigns supreme. As you're about to pour yourself a glass of wine and relax on the sofa, you suddenly become aware of two notable peculiarities. Firstly, the complete lack of your husband. Although he said he was working, he'd usually have returned home long ago. And secondly, strange sounds are coming from your attached garage. Uh-oh. Thinking that these two peculiarities may well be linked, you open the door to your garage and find your husband of 15 years having sex with your 17-year-old babysitter in a Porsche 911. Oh no, 17? Where is this happening? If this is in America, it's going to be bad news for you, sir. How would this make you feel? If your answer is utterly outraged, then your response is broadly similar to that of an unnamed businesswoman from Solihull, West Mids, England. So, just how did she take revenge? Did she kick him out of the house? Did she sell the story to the Sun newspaper? I mean, it's an interesting story, but I don't think the news is particularly interested in this, are they? It's kind of like, I don't know. Is this news? Did she get rid of his priceless wine collection? In fact, she did all of the above, and something else. As it was, in fact, she who owned the Porsche 911, described as his pride and joy, she put it up for sale on Gumtree at quite the discounted price. I don't know if America has Gumtree, but I think it's a little bit like Craigslist. It's exactly like that. Anyway, just what was this discounted price? According to the Telegraph in 2009, when the story occurred, the car was worth approximately £70,000. It's kind of good for a Porsche 911. However, I mean, they've gone up in value, I guess. However, the lucky buyer, whomever it may have been, picked up the car for a mere £2,000. Oh my god. If you saw that on Gumtree, you'd be like, it's a scam. Scam, 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 it's a scam. And you just leave it. Can you imagine actually getting that for two grand? Being like, yeah, fuck it, I'll see. I'll go along. The angry wife did not hold back when she wrote the advert, as you can see from the following extract. Last week, I caught my husband having it off with our babysitter in our Porsche. Actually, my Porsche, as I paid for it. So I'm selling his beloved car. See how he likes that. Great. I'd still think it was a scam, though. Although this is a splendid story, and I really hope it's true, I was unable to find any further mention of it outside the original articles in the Sun and Telegraph newspapers. If anybody watching this has any further information, please do tell me about it in the comment section. Yeah, I mean, maybe someone knows someone who. There's quite a lot of people who watch this. Most of them in America, though. But many people from the UK will be watching. Maybe you know someone who knows someone. We'd get some follow-up. I really hope it's true. It's a good story. This last entry comes as a warning to anybody who might be planning a bit of home restoration work. Oh god, I've been doing home restoration work for the last 2 years. As I'm sure Simon will happily attest, any sort of construction work, especially work that involves more than one builder, is likely to set you back a fair amount of money. I can testify to that, Dave. Jesus. While the building trade has developed something of a reputation for vastly inflating costs way beyond original estimates, sometimes it's the customer who's at fault. In 2007, Nigel Gray built a new porch and conservatory for Mrs. Anita Dovey. Originally, he'd only been contracted to build a conservatory on the Terrace Council House, but halfway through the job, Dovey requested the addition of the porch and he was more than happy to oblige. Inconveniently for Mr. Gray, when the time came for the bill to be settled, his client appeared to be somewhat reluctant to settle up. At first, she told him that she would need a little bit more time to pay due to the fact that her husband had just died. At this point, the self-employed builder, who incidentally had 4 children of his own to support, would have been quite within his rights to say something along the lines of, "Don't make your problem my problem," and insist on immediate payment. However, not being a massive bellend, he did give her more time to pay, only insisting on immediate payment when it transpired that her husband was in fact not even the slightest bit dead. Oh my lord, that is not... You can't... No. That is so... Ugh. Eventually, Dovey did send him a check, but when he attempted to cash it, it bounced. After attempting to obtain money for a few more months, he eventually took matters into his own hands. With the full support of the council, he used a sledgehammer to remove both the porch and the conservatory. He would later tell a reporter from the Telegraph that, quote, "It gave me a great deal of satisfaction to watch them come crumbling down, but it was also galling to see my own work destroyed."
I felt like destroying something beautiful.
Mine is a little company, and I've had to deal with a £22,000 deficit at one of the worst times of year. Jesus. I've taken a massive hit. Meanwhile, she's been lounging around in my conservatory, loving it. It looked absolutely stunning, if I do say so myself. To see it on the floor like a bomb had gone off was upsetting, but I'd rather that than let her enjoy the fruits of my unpaid labour. Yeah, me too. I'd blow that shit up. Even after the removal of the new additions, the tenant was still left with a substantial bill. According to the council, she would now be financially responsible for the work that had to be done in order to repair the property, along with having to pay for the rubble to be removed. Remember, people, always pay your tradesmen. Yes, tradesmen love being paid. Like, I've been working happily with my builder for like 2 years, pay my bills on time, does his work on time. It's great. Pay your tradespeople. Oh, that's the end of the episode. Thanks for being here. It's like great. It makes him look crazy. Crazy awesome.